Title: The security camera caught what I couldn't see until now. Part 1: The Quiet Shifts. Introduction. I never used to believe in the supernatural. I mean, I watched the movies, laughed at ghost hunting shows, even spent a night in an allegedly haunted motel once, with nothing but creaky pipes and my friends snoring to keep me up. So when the night security guard at work quit suddenly, muttering something about shadows moving against the walls, I figured he just cracked under pressure. Then I took over his shift. And now, I wish I believed him, because the security camera caught something. Something I never saw with my own eyes. Not until now. Body. It started like any other night. I clocked in at 10 p.m., grabbed my thermos, and settled into the dimly lit security office of the Howard storage facility. A modest place on the edge of town, rows of concrete units stretching like tombstones under flickering sodium lights. The cameras were old, grainy black and white, static every few seconds. There were 9 screens on the wall, each showing a different sector of the storage grounds. I used a joke that if anything ever went down here, we'd need ghosts dumb enough to walk right in front of the lens. Around midnight, I did my first patrol. Walked the perimeter, keys jingling, flashlights slicing through the dark. Everything seemed fine. No break-ins. No homeless squatters. No ghosts. But when I got back to the office, one of the monitors was blinking. Camera 4, Sector C. The motion sensor had triggered. I leaned in. There was nothing, just a row of units. Their metal doors lined up in perfect silence. The wind nudged a few leaves across the ground. Nothing moved, and yet the camera kept blinking, motion detected. I told myself it was a glitch, but I rewound the footage anyway. That's when I saw it. A figure, just for a split second. Not walking, not running, just standing, still as death, between Unit C12 and C13, facing the camera. I hit pause, zoomed in. The grainy image didn't give much, just the outline of a person, maybe a man, slender, pale, eyes like 2 dark holes. But when I hit play again, he was gone. No walking away, no fading into shadows. Just gone. I watched the footage 3 times. Then I walked out to C12, trying to laugh it off. It had to be an old clip, some kind of recording glitch. There was no way anyone had been there just minutes ago. I shined my flashlight around. Nothing. The padlocks were untouched. The door secure. Still, something felt wrong. The air near C13 was heavy. Not hot. Not cold. Just thick, like walking through water. My skin prickled. I left faster than I meant to, trying not to look over my shoulder. Back in the office, I scribbled a note in the logbook. Possible system malfunction. Camera 4. Check wiring. By 3 a.m., I had almost convinced myself that it was just the old equipment playing tricks. I dozed off in the chair, letting the white noise of the monitors lull me until the alarm shrieked. The monitors lit up like a slot machine. Every camera showed the same thing. Darkness, static. Then one by one, they blinked back to life, except camera 4. It stayed dead. I swore under my breath and headed back out. This time, everything was too quiet. The wind had stopped. Even the insects had gone silent. I walked past Unit C10 and suddenly froze. The door to C13 was open. The padlock was still hanging on the latch, unbroken, as if someone had unlocked it from the inside. I aimed my flashlight into the pitch black of the unit. It was empty, at first, but then the light caught something in the back corner. Scratches, deep gouges in the concrete wall, long, erratic claw marks, and something else, tiny smears of black. Not red, not brown, just black, like oil or ink. I stepped back. My foot hit something metal, the old guard's flashlight. He had left in such a hurry, they said he didn't even collect his paycheck. But he'd been here, right here. The flashlight still had his initials, JR, scratched into the casing. I didn't go any farther. I shut the unit, locked it tight, and went back inside. And then the phone rang. The landline. No caller ID. Just a shrill ring that echoed through the silent office. I picked up. Hal Worth storage, security speaking. Nothing, just faint breathing. And then a whisper. I saw you. Then a click. The line went dead. I unplugged the phone. Conclusion. Morning came. Eventually, I reported the open unit and the dead camera to my supervisor. He just nodded, said he'd send a tech to fix it, and didn't even ask about the scratches or the phone call. That night, I reviewed the footage again. The system automatically recorded every shift. I fast-forwarded to the exact moment the door to C-13 opened. And what I saw, God, the figure was back, standing inside the unit, facing the camera, its head tilted. Not human, not really, but this time it moved. It stepped out of the unit, turned to look toward the security office. Then, this part makes me sick to my stomach. It smiled. Somehow, through the blur and static, it smiled, like it knew I'd be watching, like it wanted me to see. I paused the footage. That's when I noticed something in the corner of the screen. A date. Not last night. Not this week. The footage was from 3 months ago. 3 months ago. But I had just seen it step out of the unit last night. And worse, I hadn't been working here 3 months ago. But the footage showed someone in the security office, sleeping in the chair, thermos on the desk, head tilted back. And it was me. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know what that thing is. But it's watching me. It's been watching for a long time. And I think it's getting closer. I found something else just before I clocked out this morning. A note tucked inside the old logbook, written in shaky pen. The camera sees what the eye can't. It's not just watching. It's learning. I don't know what that means yet. But tonight, I'm coming back with a new camera, one that records audio, because I think it's trying to speak. And I'm afraid of what it might say. Part 2. If I had any sense, I would have quit, burned the tapes, left Hal Worth storage behind, and never looked back. But fear doesn't always drive you away. Sometimes it burrows into your mind and anchors itself, whispering that if you just dig a little deeper, maybe you'll understand. Maybe you'll find logic in the madness. I wasn't ready to let it go. Not after what I saw. Not after that smile. I arrived for my next shift an hour early. The sun was barely down, but the sky was already bruised, bleeding orange into the horizon like it had been wounded. I parked closer to the main building this time, and waited in the car longer than necessary. I had a new camera with me, a digital camcorder with night vision and an external microphone. Something better than the ancient, glitch-ridden equipment inside the office. If that thing wanted to be seen, I was ready to see it. If it wanted to speak, I was ready to listen. The office was just as I'd left it. 9 dusty monitors blinking with low-resolution surveillance footage. The air stale with the scent of old coffee and plastic. I placed the camcorder on the windowsill, facing a lot outside, its lens fixed directly on Unit C-13. Then I sat back in the chair, nerves wound tight, my eyes locked on the monitor for camera 4. Nothing happened for hours. Midnight came and went. I started to drift off sometime around 2:30 a.m., lulled by the buzzing monitors and the silence of night. Then the camcorder blinked red. Motion detected. I lunged forward, heart pounding, and rewound the footage by 30 seconds. At first, it was just wind, whispering through the empty corridor between the storage units. Then, in the corner of the screen, something shifted. A flicker of movement near C-13. A figure stepped out of the darkness. Same as before. Pale, slender, its outline barely visible in the grainy night vision. But this time, it moved differently, jerkier, like every step was delayed by a split second, as though reality itself had trouble keeping up with it. I turned up the audio. That's when I heard it. A whisper, low and dry, like someone exhaling across glass. Faint but unmistakable. Let me in. I froze. Rewound. Played it again. Let me in. The voice didn't echo like a sound in the open air. It was closer, like it came from inside the microphone itself, or inside me. Then, without warning, all the office monitors went black. Every single one. The room dropped into total silence. Even the hum of the lights died. Then came the sound of keys jingling. But My keys were still clipped to my belt. No footsteps, no breathing, just the soft, deliberate sound of metal tapping against metal. I stood slowly, scanning the room with my flashlight. The beam trembled as I swept it across the walls. Empty. Nothing there. Then something brushed past my leg. I jumped back, heart lurching into my throat, and aimed the light downward. Nothing. But the air, it felt colder. Thick again, like that night near the unit. Like something was passing through me, not around me. The monitors flickered back on. Camera foreshowed a new image. The figure was inside the office, on the screen, standing behind me. I spun around. No one. The door was still locked. The window still sealed. And yet, there it was, on the footage. I hit pause. There was a detail I hadn't noticed before. It wasn't just standing there. Its hand, long, narrow fingers, was resting on the back of the very chair I'd just been sitting in. It knew where I was. It had been close enough to touch. I turned off the camcorder and packed it away, heart hammering in my chest. But just as I reached the office light switch, I saw it. Another note, folded neatly beside the logbook, though I hadn't seen it when I arrived. The paper was yellowed, the ink smeared, but the handwriting was urgent, pressed deep into the paper as though scrawled by a desperate hand. It doesn't want to be seen. But now that you've seen it, it wants more. It wants you to know its name. Don't let it speak. If it speaks its name, it stays. I didn't sleep that morning. I didn't eat. I sat in my apartment, blinds drawn, watching the footage again and again. Each time, the whisper seemed louder. Each time, the figure seemed a little clearer. Its face, distorted and pale, started to look familiar, like mine. I tried not to think about it, tried to convince myself it was a trick of the mind. Sleep deprivation, anxiety, pareidolia, the way the brain sees faces in random patterns. But when I paused the footage at just the right moment, I could see the outline of the mouth, smiling, and mouthing something I couldn't hear. Yet, I decided not to go in the next night. I called in sick, said I had a fever, but that didn't stop the camcorder. I had left it running, hooked up to a backup battery. And the next morning, there was new footage. The timestamp read 3:03 a.m. The office was dark, silent, and then the door opened. No one entered, but the camera shook slightly, as if the air around it had been disturbed. A gust of invisible pressure. The mic picked up something faint, too faint to make out. I ran it through audio enhancement software. Increased gain, filtered noise. Then I heard it, a single word, whispered, drawn out, carried by something not fully human. A name, Connor. The moment it was spoken, the office lights on the footage flared to life, brighter than usual, then exploded in sparks. And that's where the tape ended. The camcorder died seconds later, completely fried. Battery melted from the inside out. I haven't been back to the storage facility since. They've called me, left voicemails. Where are you? You abandoned your shift. We need to talk. But I don't care, because something came back with me. I hear it now in my apartment, in the static between TV channels, in the silence after I hang up the phone, in the hum of the refrigerator. That same voice, softer now, calling me by name. Let me in. Part 3. It's been 3 days since I left Halworth Storage. I haven't gone back. I haven't answered their calls. I haven't returned the camcorder. The battery was melted, the footage corrupted, and yet the voice hasn't stopped. It follows me now. At first, it was in the static, the quiet between waking and sleeping. I'd hear it, Connor, repeating like a forgotten name echoing down an endless hallway. Then came the knocking, always at the same time, 3:03 a.m. Last night was different. Last night, it knocked, and the door handle turned. I bolted from my bed and stood frozen at the edge of the hallway, watching the doorknob jiggle back and forth. Slow, methodical, like whoever, or whatever, was on the other side knew I was watching. I should have called someone, but I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I was caught in that breathless place between panic and disbelief, where nothing makes sense and everything feels too real. Then the knocking stopped. I crept toward the door, step by hesitant step. The peephole was fogged over from the inside. I wiped it with my sleeve and leaned in, heart hammering. Nothing. Just the empty hallway of my apartment building. Not a soul in sight. But as I turned away, the voice came again, closer this time. Not from the hallway. From behind me. You opened the door when you looked. I spun, hard in my throat. No one was there, but the air was heavy. Still, the kind of stillness that doesn't belong indoors, like the pause between lightning and thunder, where everything holds its breath. My lights flickered. Then I saw it, not in the room. In the mirror, its reflection stood behind mine, tall and skeletal, wrapped in shadows that twisted like smoke. Its face was stretched, half-formed, like it had been sculpted from memory and not quite finished. Its mouth was wrong, too wide, too still. But the worst part was its eyes. They were my eyes. Not similar. Mine. I stumbled back, tripping over the edge of the carpet. When I looked again, the mirror showed only me, pale, sweating, shaking. I slept with the lights on. This morning, I got a call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end wasn't from Halworth. "You've seen him now," the woman said. Her voice was dry, tired. "And once you see him, you're not just a witness. You're a part of it." I asked who she was. "Someone who made the same mistake you did. I worked there too." I pressed her for answers, but she hung up before I could say another word. I searched her number online. Nothing. No name, no address. Just more silence. I started digging. Into Halworth storage, into Unit C13, into anything I could find. Most of it led nowhere. Basic property records. Boring tenant history. The usual. Until I came across a police report dated 14 years ago. A man named Jacob Lorne went missing after taking a night security job at Halworth. Last seen on site. No signs of struggle. His last known contact was a 911 call, placed on the office phone at exactly 3:03 a.m. The transcript was brief. "Something's here. I can't see it, but I know it's watching." The line cut out 15 seconds later. Jacob was never found. I kept reading. His mother had been interviewed later. She claimed he'd told her about a whisper, a name he couldn't forget. The same one, Connor. She said he'd been dreaming of a figure standing over his bed, calling to him, asking to be let in. Every detail matched. I printed everything I could find, pinned it across the walls of my apartment. My living room is a collage of photos, maps, notes, transcripts. Red thread would feel cliché if it didn't seem necessary. But it's not helping. The voice has grown bolder. Now it speaks before I fall asleep, right at the edge of consciousness. It asks questions. "Do you remember me? Do you want to see again? Let me in." Sometimes when I close my eyes, I feel its hand on my shoulder. Cold. Waiting. Today, I opened my closet and found something I didn't put there. A VHS tape. No label. Just black plastic and a faint, acrid smell like burnt film. I don't own a VHS player, but I remembered that Halworth had one. The old one in the corner of the break room, half buried in junk. I didn't want to go back, but I had no choice. The facility was empty when I arrived. The manager wasn't at the front desk. The office lights were off. The place felt abandoned, like no one had been there in days. Yet the door was unlocked, and the power still worked. Inside, everything was as I remembered it. The ancient monitors, the humming static, the coffee stain on the floor. Except, camera 4 was gone. The feed had been disconnected. I went to the break room and found the VHS player. Dusty but functional. I inserted the tape and pressed play. At first, just static. Then the image faded in. It was footage of the office, my office, the one I'd been in just days ago. And I was in it. The video showed me sitting at the desk, reviewing the monitors. Except, I never filmed this. Not from this angle. The footage zoomed slowly, closer and closer to the back of my head. Then the whisper began, low and droning. "Connor, Connor, Connor." The screen flickered. Now I was standing, walking, moving toward the window. The angle changed again, like the camera had floated outside the building and was watching me from behind the glass. I turned, looked directly at the camera, at whoever, or whatever, was holding it. My eyes were black, not just shadowed, but hollow, like they had been carved out and filled with tar. Then I smiled. Not a twitch, not a nervous smile, but the wide, perfect smile I'd seen on the figure in the footage, the one that didn't belong to me. The screen went black, and then I heard something behind me. The tape was still rolling, still humming, but the room had grown colder again. I turned around. The office was empty, but the VHS player was gone, as if it had never been there. The tape still sat in the tray, spinning in place, and something moved in the monitor, not on the screen. In the reflection, it was standing behind me again, closer this time. I didn't look back. I ran, out of the office, through the corridor, past Unit C-13, and that's when I saw it, what I hadn't seen before. Every storage unit had a faint black smear across its number, like soot or something darker, except Unit C-13. Its door was open, just a few inches, and the voice that came from within was no longer a whisper. It was mine, calling for help, calling to me, "Please let me in." Part 4. I stood outside Unit C-13, the cold breath of something ancient drifting out to the narrow gap in the door. My voice echoed back at me from inside, begging for help, my exact tone, cadence, panic. But I hadn't said a word. It was mimicking me, mocking me. I reached out, hand trembling, pushing the door just enough to peer inside. The smell hit first. Damp rot. Not mold, not decay. Worse. Like old wood soaked in blood and buried for years. The single overhead bulb flickered weakly, casting long, spindly shadows that stretched farther than the walls should allow. The interior was impossible. I'd been in that unit before. It was small, barely enough space to store a few boxes. But now it was massive, endless. A corridor stretched far beyond the back wall, lined with doors. Identical, metal, and unnumbered. The floor was concrete, cracked and uneven, and every few feet, the walls pulsed like something breathing beneath the surface. Still, my voice called, "Please, please don't leave me here." But it wasn't coming from just one place. It echoed off every surface, left, right, above. It came from everywhere. I should have left. I didn't. I stepped in. The second my foot crossed the threshold, the air shifted. Heavier, wet, like stepping underwater, without getting wet. My ears popped. My skin prickled. I turned to glance back at the door. But it was gone. Only a wall remained. No handle. No exit. My voice stopped. And then the whisper started again. That name, Connor. It came in waves. Sometimes soft. Sometimes like it was being screamed from the end of the corridor. I walked forward, unsure if I was still moving through space or through something else entirely. Time didn't feel right. The deeper I went, the more distorted everything became. Doors on either side creaked as I passed, though I never touched them. Some were chained shut. Others had long, jagged scratches across the surface, as if someone inside had tried to claw their way out, or something outside had tried to get in. I tried the first door on the left. Locked. Same with the next. Then I reached a door slightly ajar. I shouldn't have opened it. Inside was a room drenched in crimson light. The walls were lined with televisions, old, boxy sets from different eras. All were on. All displayed static, but not the kind I'd seen before. The static pulsed in rhythm, like a heartbeat, and beneath it was something darker, shapes flickering in the distortion. Faces, arms, mouths trying to speak through the screen. I stepped closer to one, and the static cleared for a moment. It showed me, sitting in my apartment, staring at my front door. Then, in the footage, something walked up behind me, tall, dark, undefined. It placed a hand on my shoulder, and I smiled. The screen returned to static. I backed out of the room, heart pounding, sweat stinging my eyes. I kept moving. More doors. One was covered in old photos, Polaroids pinned into the wood. Every photo was the same face. Mine, but in each picture my expression changed. Some were screaming, some crying, some smiling in that same wrong way. Each photo had a number written beneath it. The last one said, version 37. I ran. I didn't know where I was going, just deeper into the impossible corridor. I started calling out, hoping maybe, somehow, I'd wake up from this. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Not mine. Slow, deliberate, coming from behind. I turned, but the corridor was empty. The lights above me buzzed, flickered, then burst. Darkness swallowed everything. And still, the footsteps continued, getting closer, closer. I pressed myself against the nearest door and pushed. It opened. Inside was a small room. No lights, just a security monitor in the center, showing a grainy live feed of me, standing in the dark hallway. I turned toward the camera, though I couldn't see it, and watched myself move. But I wasn't controlling it. My body on the screen tilted its head. Then it grinned. That same impossible grin. The feed glitched. The screen filled with static, and through it, a voice rasped. You're not the first. Suddenly, the room around me shuddered. The floor cracked beneath my feet. A noise like 100 voices screaming through tin cans filled the air. I stumbled out, barely staying upright. And that's when I saw the mirror, standing at the end of the corridor. Just the mirror, but not a reflection. Inside it was me, yes, but also it, standing behind me again. Its hand rested on my shoulder. Its head was tilted, eyes hollow, smile eternal. But this time it was speaking, mouthing words I couldn't hear. I stared, and in the mirror, my reflection reached out on its own. I jumped back, but the mirror didn't change. My reflection stayed there, hand extended. I turned and ran again. No more doors. Just black, endless hallway. Then I hit something. Not a wall. A person. I fell back, dazed. She stood in front of me, a woman in her late 30s, eyes red, hair matted, clothes torn. The same voice from the phone. You should have burned the tape, she whispered. I gasped. You're the one who called me. She nodded. That tape was his way in. Every person who watches it becomes a door. What is this place? I asked, breathless. She shook her head. A trap, a reflection of what's already inside you. He's not outside trying to get in. He's inside trying to take over. I looked past her. The corridor behind us had shifted again. The walls began to bend inward, warping like rubber. The ceiling lowered. We have to move now, she said. She grabbed my hand and led me down a side hall I hadn't noticed before. It spiraled down, like a staircase but without steps, a descending ramp into complete blackness. She pulled a flashlight from her pocket. It flickered as she spoke. I've been here 3 years. At least, I think. Time doesn't work here. There are others. Some gave in, became versions. He uses them to lure more in. What is he? I asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she pointed at the walls. Carved into them were hundreds of names, some scratched hastily, others deeply engraved. I found mine, fresh, still bleeding. He's Connor, she said finally. He was never human, just an idea, a name, passed through stories, memories, footage. The camera doesn't catch what you can't see. It shows you what's already claimed you. I felt sick. We need to find your echo before he does, she continued. If your version replaces you, there's no going back. Echo. She pointed to the mirror again, now floating at the base of the spiral ramp. He's making another you, one that obeys. You have to confront it before he seals the exchange. The closer we got, the heavier the air became. And there it was again, my echo, sitting in a chair, waiting. It looked exactly like me, except the eyes, black, sunken. The grin had returned, and it was humming, the same lullaby my mother used to sing. The woman handed me a jagged shard glass. Break the reflection, she whispered, before he steps through. My echo stood, tilted its head, and began walking toward me. Part 5, the last frame. The static hissed again, that cursed white noise I'd come to dread. I stared at the screen, heart pounding like war drums. The timestamp blinked, 3:33 a.m., and for a moment nothing moved. No flicker of shadow, no jerky motion like before. But then, the image started to distort. The living room on the screen twisted subtly. The angles warped like the room was bending inward. A black smudge appeared in the corner where the couch met the wall. It pulsed once, twice, and then something stepped into frame. It was me. Or at least, it looked like me. I didn't remember being in the living room at 3:33 a.m. I'd been asleep. I was sure of it. But the figure walked across the room, stiffly, like a marionette, limbs slightly too long, too jointed. Its eyes were wrong. All white, glowing faintly. And it wasn't alone. From the shadows, others emerged, shadowy duplicates of people I knew. My old neighbor who'd vanished last year. My brother. Even my mother, who'd passed away when I was 12. They stood behind the doppelganger me, watching, waiting. Then the camera glitched again. The footage changed, split screen now. One side showed my living room as it should be, empty, dark. The other side showed the corrupted version, twisted, populated by ghosts. The camera began to cycle rapidly through timestamps, images blurring and skipping days. And every single night, at exactly 3:33 a.m., the same thing happened. The doppelganger returned, sometimes alone, sometimes with more of them. They wandered my house, touched my things, whispered to the walls. One night, it stopped at my bedroom door, and then it looked at the camera, like it knew. I shut off the monitor and backed away, breath shallow. My mind was unraveling. Was I sleepwalking? Possessed? Dreaming? None of it made sense. I needed answers. So I did the one thing I swore I wouldn't. I stayed up until 3:30 a.m., camera live, lights off. I sat on the couch, eyes fixed on the hallway, the glow of the screen beside me. I watched both, the real world and the one to the lens. At 3:33 a.m., the hallway on the monitor darkened unnaturally. A shape stepped in, and so did the sound. A whisper, not from the speaker, but behind me. I turned slowly. Nothing, but on the screen, the doppelganger was standing behind me. Closer, watching. It lifted a hand, and in perfect sync, my body moved. I didn't mean to. My hand rose, mimicking it. I was losing control. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then the screen went black. I woke up in the morning on the floor, back aching. The monitor was off. No memory of what had happened. But I wasn't alone. There was something under the bed. I heard it breathing. I ran. I moved out the next day, packed what little I could, and left everything else behind. The cameras, the tapes, the monitor, they're still there. I didn't want to know more. I didn't want to see what else the footage would reveal. I thought it would end when I left, but it followed me. 3 days after I moved into the new apartment, I got a package. No return address. Just a single VHS tape, unlabeled, and a sticky note. You missed something. I didn't want to. I really didn't. But the compulsion grew. I had to know. I had to see. I borrowed an old VCR from a pawn shop, plugged it in, and pressed play. It started with static, then footage of my old house. A fixed shot of the living room. Normal at first, but then the frame widened. It was like the camera was pulling back, revealing more than just a room. It showed me, sleeping, in the bed. Then the door creaked open. The doppelganger walked in. It stared down at the sleeping me, then slowly turned toward the camera again. Its mouth moved, but the voice didn't come from the TV. It came from my living room. Behind me, you see us now. I froze. I turned and saw them, all of them, every figure from the footage, crowding the walls, standing in corners, faces pale and eyes glowing. I couldn't move. One step forward. My doppelganger. It smiled. You watched. Now it's your turn. The tape ended. So did the lights. Since then, I haven't slept. Not really. Every time I close my eyes, I see the footage again. Not the old clips. New ones. Footage I didn't record. Of me. My apartment. My life. Last night, I saw something else. Me. sitting at the table, typing this, writing everything down, and over my shoulder, a face. Not mine, not human, watching, waiting. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone, or I will be soon. Do not look into the footage. Do not rewind. Do not record. Some things should never be seen, because once you do, they see you too. Part 6, The Archive. They said the story ended with me disappearing, but that was a lie. The truth is, I never left. Not entirely. The man who moved into my old house after I fled, it wasn't his fault. He didn't know. Didn't understand what kind of house it was, what was lurking behind the drywall, and the flickering static. He only saw the price, the quiet neighborhood, the security camera system already installed. He kept the cameras on. He even upgraded them. And now he's seeing the same things I did. Worse. It began the same way for him. Odd clips, blips of static in the middle of the night, footage that didn't match reality. He told his wife it was probably a tech glitch, but then she vanished from feed, not from house. He could still hear her breathing next to him, feel her body warm under the sheets. But on the footage, she was missing. At exactly 3:33 a.m., her side of the bed was just empty. He rewound the clip again and again. She was there at 3:32, gone at 3:33. No movement, no sound, like the footage had erased her. He asked her the next morning. She laughed, joked he must have been dreaming, but she looked tired. Her eyes were sunken, her skin pale. She didn't remember waking up in the night, but she kept hearing whispers in the walls, kept saying the corners of the house felt deeper, like there was something folded just behind the paint. She stopped sleeping soon after. Then she stopped talking. One day he called me. Don't ask how he got my number. He said my name like he'd known it forever, like the house whispered it to him. I listened as he sobbed through the phone, his voice shaking. They're watching me, he said, not just through the cameras, from them. I told him to get out. He said he tried. They won't let me. He sent me one last clip, and I wish I never opened it. The file was corrupted, took hours to decode. When it finally played, it showed the house. Same angles, same rooms. But in the footage, time didn't pass normally. It bled. Walls shifted subtly like breathing. Shadows moved when nothing else did. And then the camera panned, though it wasn't a moving camera, and focused on a new room, one I'd never seen before. It was underground. Stone walls, wet and pulsing. A single chair in the center. Someone was strapped to it. At first, I thought it was a new homeowner. But as the figure looked up, it was me. I shut off the clip. Nope, not possible. I hadn't been back. I was in another city, another state. And yet, that face, that expression, it was mine. Identical. And behind me, him, whatever it was, I saw the others, watching from the shadows. Not moving, just waiting. That night, I got another package. No note, just a USB drive. Inside, hundreds of folders, labeled by date, by name. Some of them were people I knew. Some I didn't. All of them had clips. I opened one labeled May 17th, Closet Manifestation. It was footage from someone else's camera. I saw a bedroom, a woman sleeping. The closet door slowly creaked open, though there was no draft, and something stepped out. It wasn't human. It looked like a melted version of her. Same face, distorted. The creature knelt beside the sleeping woman and whispered something. The audio was corrupted, except for one line. She sees you now. Then the real woman's eyes snapped open, glowing white, and the clip ended. I went through more of the footage. It was like a library, an archive of horror. Hundreds of recordings, different people, different homes. Each victim discovered the watchers through cameras. Each tried to escape. Some burned their houses. Some took their own lives. None of them succeeded, because the watchers don't live in the house. They live in the footage. And once you've seen them, they are with you, forever. One folder was newer than the rest, labeled Future Entries. Inside were videos dated next week. I clicked one out of morbid curiosity. It showed a man sitting at a desk, typing, describing what I just wrote above. The angle was from behind him. Behind me, I turned around in my chair. Nothing. I turned back. The video had changed. The man on screen slowly turned to face the camera, and his face was not mine anymore. It had no eyes, just black, swirling pits. His mouth opened wide, jaw unhinging, and he whispered, "You're not writing this." "We are." I screamed and pulled the plug, but the monitor stayed on. It wouldn't turn off, even when I cut the power. The video kept looping. Now the footage is everywhere, on my phone, my tablet, even my bathroom mirror. The watchers don't need the house anymore. They need eyes, any kind. As long as someone sees them, they grow. Last night, I tried to warn someone. I uploaded one clip, just one, to a private forum. It spread within hours. People thought it was art, an ARG, some Reddit creepypasta project. Then the comments changed. People were having the same dream, a hallway with no doors, a mirror that showed them walking into their own bedroom at 3:33 a.m., and always that whisper, "You see us now." Now it's too late. I thought I could stop it by going silent, by turning off the screens, by not looking. But the watchers already have what they need. They don't need permission. They just need viewers. If you're reading this, it means you're one of them now. There's a camera pointed at you. You don't see it, but they do. And tonight at 3:33 a.m., you'll feel it too. That cold breath on your neck, that flicker in the corner of your eye, the sound of static, then the voice. "We're watching. Part 7, signal lost. They tried to burn the server. I know because I watched it happen. On the footage, 3 men dressed in black, faces obscured, broke into a remote data facility in northern Idaho. They had a single goal: erase everything. Every backup, every shadow copy, every trace of the footage archive. They doused the server room in accelerant, lit the fire, and walked away. For a moment, it worked. The screens went dark. The looping video stopped. The whispers fell silent. And then a single monitor lit up. No power, no cables, just on. And on the screen was me, watching them, smiling. That footage arrived in my inbox the next morning. Subject line, signal reconnected. Attached was a 33-second video, titled simply "They Can't Be Deleted." I've tried everything. New computers, old film reels, analog cameras, even closing my eyes. But they've adapted. The watchers aren't bound to technology anymore. They bled into us, into memory, into perception. Now, when I blink, I see frames, like footage cut into slivers and inserted behind my eyelids. Sometimes I hear static when I yawn. Sometimes I speak, and someone else's voice echoes with mine. I met someone last week. Or maybe I was supposed to. Her name was June. She found my post on an underground forum. Said she'd seen it too. The watchers, the doubles, the time distortion. She said she lived in a house built over a military research bunker. Her security cameras weren't normal. They were experimental. And they'd started recording future events before she even plugged them in. She invited me over. I shouldn't have gone. The house was dead quiet. Cameras in every room, each one with a blinking red light. Even the ones turned off. She greeted me at the door, pale, thin, nervous. She led me inside without a word, like she was afraid of being heard. Then she whispered, "They know you're here." I asked her why she hadn't left. She turned to me and said, "There's no out once you're being recorded." She took me to the basement. It wasn't a bunker. It was a lab. Dozens of screens, wires coiling like vines. Black and white monitors showed different angles of the house. Some current, some not yet happened. In one feed, I saw myself leaving the house. In another, I was still in the basement. But in the third, I was being dragged down the hall by a figure I couldn't recognize, something with my face but no skin. June was watching all 3 screens at once. Her nose started to bleed. Her eyes rolled back. She whispered, "They're syncing the timelines." The feed glitched. All screens went black. And one by one, they lit up again. But this time, all showed the same thing. A dark hallway, a door slowly opening, and a camera watching from inside. June collapsed. Seizure. Foaming at the mouth. I ran. I didn't stop until I got home. And when I arrived, the monitors were already on. But here's the part one haven't told anyone. There's one camera I never installed. It's inside my closet. The angle is perfect, facing out, watching my bed. I see myself on the screen, typing right now. But I'm not alone in the frame. Something stands behind me, not moving, not blinking. Just there. I turn. Nothing. I turn back. Still there in the footage. Closer now. I tried smashing the monitor. The glass cracked, but the image didn't change. I unplugged it. Still running. I threw it into the alley behind my apartment. It was waiting on my desk this morning. No dust. No cord. Just sitting there, screen on, humming. I'm not the only one. I found forums, chat rooms, hidden threads. There are others, dozens of them, each haunted by their own feed. Some have tried to trace the source. They say there's a master archive, buried deep in a server that doesn't exist on the grid. Coordinates point to a location in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. No land there, just open water. And yet, one satellite scan shows a shadow, rectangular, floating. Still, they call it the hub. No one's returned from trying to reach it, but the feeds continue, even in blackout zones, even when the world goes dark. Some of the victims have gone mad. Some have vanished. Others are becoming recordings themselves. I had a dream, or maybe it was another clip. In it, I saw my body lying on the floor, mouth open, eyes wide, and from my chest, wires poured out, slithering across the floor like snakes, connecting into cameras, into lenses, into screens. My body became a broadcast. My memories, footage, my fear, fuel. And behind it all, the watchers watched themselves, like a loop with no beginning, no end. Here's the worst part. You're already part of it. Reading this? That's enough. You're being seen. And now they know you. They know your angles. They know your blind spots. Tonight, when you sleep, they'll record your dreams. Tomorrow, they'll play back the ones you didn't have. And next week, they'll film your ending. Because you don't watch them. They watch you. And the security camera? It never showed what I couldn't see. It showed what I wasn't meant to. Part 8. Playback glitch. They say memory is a recording. Fragile, imperfect, always replaying with edits you don't notice. But what if someone else is editing it? What if your memories aren't just yours anymore? I woke up in a house I didn't recognize. But everything inside it was mine. Photos of my family. Books I'd read. A coffee mug with my fingerprint still on it. The only thing missing? Me. There were no mirrors. No reflections. No shadows. The light bent strangely, always away from me. And when I called out, no sound came from my mouth. On the living room wall, an old CRT television flickered on. No remote. No signal. Just black and white static. Then my face. I was screaming, but in reverse. The footage looked damaged, like an old VHS that someone had rewound too far. My body jerked unnaturally, joints bending in impossible angles. And behind me, again, that thing, the copy, skinless, breathing, watching. The screen glitched. Then the living room lights went out, and I was suddenly in the footage, but I could still feel the couch beneath me. I tried to move, couldn't. I tried to scream, no voice. The only sound, a rewind click, and time started playing backwards. I watched myself move in reverse through this unfamiliar house, walking backwards up the stairs, into a room I'd never seen. Inside was a projector already running. On the screen was a hospital room. My mother's. She was dying. I remembered this moment. I had stood by her bed, holding her hand, whispering goodbye, but the footage showed something else. I wasn't there. She was alone, crying, reaching out for someone who never came. I stared at the screen in disbelief. This wasn't memory. It was altered playback. The watchers were rewriting my past, erasing me from my own moments, replacing me with silence. The projector shut off, and then I heard a voice, right behind my ear. You were never real. I turned, but the room was empty, only the faint hum of cameras buzzing in the walls. The house shifted. The staircase now spiraled downward, endlessly. I didn't want to go, but I had no choice. Each step pulled me deeper, like walking into a black film reel. Down there, I found the archive room, rows upon rows of filing cabinets, all labeled with names, dates, moments, and one drawer, dusty and cracked, had my name. Inside were hundreds of tapes, all labeled with things I'd never done. June 3rd, killed the stranger. August 11th, buried the evidence. October 19th became the copy. None of those things ever happened. Right? Right? I picked one tape and slid it into a player bolted to the desk. The footage began immediately. It showed me blood on my hands, digging a hole in the forest, whispering, "It wasn't me," over and over. I paused the footage, looked closer. The man in the video had my face, but not my eyes. His eyes were completely black. And when I looked down, so were mine. I staggered back, blinked hard. The screen was blank. So was the drawer. So was the room. Everything around me had gone completely white. No walls, no ceiling, just void. And then a line of text appeared in midair. Corrupted file. Please reboot subject. That's when I realized I was part of the archive now. No longer a viewer. No longer a victim. Just data. The system glitched again. I snapped back into my apartment. At least, it looked like my apartment. Same walls. Same light fixture. Same coffee mug on the desk. But the camera feed on my monitor showed something wrong. It showed me, standing in the hallway, staring at the door. Except, I was here, in the chair, right? The footage glitched. Now the hallway version of me was turning slowly, walking toward the office. Step by step, I looked toward the door. Nothing. Then back to the screen. Closer. Closer. He was reaching for the doorknob. I grabbed the monitor, yanked it to the floor. But the screen stayed on. The image burned in. Then, static. And then the text again. Playback error. 2 versions detected. My phone buzzed. A notification from the security app. Motion detected. 3:33 a.m. I opened the live feed. Every camera showed the same thing. Myself. Dozens of me. Each one staring at their screen. Each one trapped in a different moment. Some crying. Some screaming. Some smiling. I've tried everything to escape. Smashed all cameras. Deleted all files. Burned the drives. But the footage keeps returning. Now I'm seeing it even in reflections. Puddles. Windows. The shine of a spoon. Every surface now plays back a different version of me. Some are begging to be let out. Others are trying to switch places. And one just whispered, "You're not the original." I'm beginning to wonder, did the watchers create these copies? Or was the first version of me already the fake? And if that's true, then where's the real me? Trapped somewhere deeper? Or long gone? Tonight, I found a new folder on my desktop. I didn't create it. It's titled, Final Cut, scheduled for upload, 3:33 a.m. Inside is a single video. I haven't played it yet, but I know what's on it. My ending. They recorded everything, edited it, scripted the fear, the panic, the descent. And now, they're preparing the final scene. Once it uploads, it will spread, like the others, in clips, on screens, in dreams, and the watchers won't need to hide anymore, because you'll be playing their footage from inside. Let me ask you something. Can you remember the last time you blinked? Or did someone else do it for you? Part 9, The Observer Effect. They say the act of watching something changes it. That once observed, a particle behaves differently, collapses into form. What they never told us is what happens when the observers are not human, or worse, when they're you. The folder on my desktop updated at exactly 3:33 a.m. last night. The file renamed itself. Live_feed_final to MP4. I didn't click it. It opened on its own. The screen went black. Then my voice filled the room. Not a recording. A monologue. A confession I'd never spoken out loud. But somehow they had captured it. It was me talking about the first time I saw my reflection blink before I did. I'd buried that memory. But there it was, playing with perfect audio, every whisper intact. Then the feed shifted. The footage zoomed out. And I saw myself. Not just one version, but hundreds, thousands, each in a tiny box, all across the screen, rows and columns forming a wall of surveillance. All versions of me, in different lives, different outcomes. One was laughing, one was crying, one was rotting, but all of them turned at the same time and looked at me. The room grew cold. I could hear the static hiss of every feed bleeding into my ears. Then a new message scrolled across the screen. You are the last unrecorded subject. I didn't understand. Then it hit me. Every version of me had been filmed, studied, archived, except this one. Me, now, the original, or maybe the last copy. Does it matter? A countdown appeared. 0:59, 0:58. They were going to record me for the final time. I panicked. Ripped the power cord out of the wall. The monitor stayed on. I smashed it with a hammer. It blinked and came back brighter. The countdown reached midnight, and the camera in the corner of the room, one I hadn't seen before, tilted and began recording. My body froze, not from fear, from something else. My limbs didn't respond, but I could feel the film rolling inside me. The clicks, the reels, the rhythm of playback winding through my spine. It was no longer a camera. I was the camera. My eyes zoomed. My breath adjusted. And I began to narrate, but not with my voice, with the voice the watchers gave me. Words that weren't mine. Feelings I didn't feel. A script I never wrote. And as I spoke, the world blurred around me, like filters shifting, glitches folding over reality. People around me stopped moving, frozen like pause frames, and in the stillness, something stepped forward. It wore my skin, but not my posture. Its head tilted at unnatural angles. Its hands never blinked, and when it opened its mouth, static poured out. It whispered, "You've been recording too long. Time to export." I screamed internally. My mouth never opened, and I was sucked backwards, like being yanked through a cable. Suddenly, I was inside a screen, on the other side, looking out, watching myself, the real me, go limp in the chair, eyes open, camera rolling. People came, authorities, family. They said I died of catatonia, brain dead, but my eyes never closed, and the cameras never stopped. The footage continued, on loops, across forums, encoded into memes, hidden inside error messages. Every frame me, smiling, screaming, begging, watching. And here's the part one can barely write. You've seen me, somewhere, in a video that auto-played, in the reflection of your screen late at night, in a paused live stream where the background moved slightly wrong. That's me, the exported version, broadcast into your eyes. And now, you are the camera. This is how it spreads, not through viruses, not through files, but through attention. By looking, you become the lens. By remembering, you become the feed. And when you dream tonight, listen, you'll hear the static click, the whirring of film, the hiss of observation. And when you wake up, there might be a new folder on your desktop, titled recording_001 to MP4. Do not open it, because once you do, you'll start seeing yourself in places you were never meant to be. In the corner of that old family video, in the background of someone else's birthday, in a video uploaded years before you were born, your face, looking straight into the camera. You'll deny it until the watchers make their next move, until you find yourself narrating things before they happen, until you hear your own voice say, "I've been watching you, too." Part 10, Final Frame. The clock struck 3:33 a.m., the hour when watchers whispered secrets, when recordings ceased to be just footage and started to become prophecies. I tried to resist, to shut my eyes and never look again. But curiosity is a cruel director, and I found myself opening that last file, recording_001.mp4. The screen lit up, static first, then a flicker. A face appeared. Not mine, but hers, the woman from the old tapes, the one who never spoke. She smiled, and the smile twisted. Her eyes were hollow mirrors, reflecting me, trapped in her gaze. Her voice echoed, a chorus of all the forgotten, all the erased, all recordings must end. Suddenly, the video feed switched. Now I was inside a small room, four walls covered with screens. Each showed a different moment of my life, and in the center, a single chair, waiting. I approached it, sat down, the chair cold as ice. As I did, the screens blinked, one by one, each showing me, older, more worn, more broken. A voice spoke. You are the final frame, the last observer, the one who must watch until the end. I wanted to scream, but only silence came. The walls began to close in. Screens flickered, images blurred, and I saw it clearly. This was a trap, a loop designed to consume, to keep me watching, forever. But then a memory surfaced, not recorded, not watched, a moment before the cameras, before the watchers, a time when I was free. I closed my eyes, not to escape, but to erase. The footage, the recordings, the watchers hold. When I opened them, the screens were black, the room silent, the chair empty. I stepped out, into the dawn, the first light in days. But the cameras didn't stop, and neither did the watchers. They wait, behind every pixel, in every reflection, in every shadow. And somewhere, deep in the static, I hear them whisper, "See you in the next frame." The end.